Hi, welcome to Daily Dose of Anime Recaps. In this video, we'll be taking a look at episodes 5 through 8 of the series Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai. In this world, there's monsters and humans. The monsters all used to be the thralls of an evil dark lord who has since been defeated. Freed from his enchantments, the monsters are free to live a life without evil. Our hero Dai was raised by monsters, though the status quo is threatened by a resurgence of evil and the Dark Lord Hadler. Dai is training under the hero who initially defeated Hadler, though a recent battle between the two has plunged them into a state of uncertainty. Will it be up to Dai to fight the Dark Lord and his master, Virn, the Dark King? Is Dai's fate certain death, or does he stand a chance at survival? Before we get into it, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button so you never miss a recap from us. We pick up where we previously left off. Yvonne has just taken a powerful attack from Hadler, whose powers have multiplied exponentially since the last time they fought. Will Yvonne survive? And if he doesn't, can Dai defend his friends against Hadler? Yvonne collapses, his breath slowly fading. He reveals that there is no chance for them to win this fight, as Hadler is far too powerful with the power of the Dark King Virn behind him. Yvonne's last request before facing Hadler to die is that he wants Dai and Pop to become strong enough to defeat Virn. As he walks away, he casts Keklang onto Dai, Pop, and Brass. It's a defense charm, turning the body to steel and repelling magic. The only thing is, they are now made of steel and so they cannot move. They can't help Yvonne in his battle. Powerless, they watch on. The last thing he leaves them is insignias of Yvonne, necklaces that prove their graduation as students of his. Pop breaks down into tears knowing that his master is about to face certain death, and Yvonne consoles him with a huge smile on his face. He finally faces Hadler, though he has spent the last of his magic power. The fight begins and heavily swings in Hadler's favor, who doesn't even use a weapon. The fight is brutal, and it's almost impossible to watch. Hadler taunts him, fighting with his arms crossed. Hadler throws a powerful punch into Yvonne's ribs, and brutally you can hear his bones shatter. Suddenly, Yvonne swings his arms towards Hadler and throws his finger into Hadler's skull. Somehow, against all the odds, Yvonne casts a spell. The spell doesn't require much magic. Instead, it converts life enemy into explosive power. Hadler begs Yvonne to stop. However, Yvonne envisions a long-lost loved one and refuses to stop. His final words are to Dai and Pop, "I leave the rest to you." Then, he casts the spell Megante. An explosive energy engulfs Hadler, Yvonne, the steel onlookers, and the entire island. Waves are sent pulsating through the ocean from the aftershock, and nothing is left of Hadler and Yvonne apart from the hero's sword. His tragic final sacrifice defeated Hadler and protected his students, killing Yvonne in the process. Then, the ground begins to shake and Hadler emerges, laughing. Brass reassures them, reminding them of the Keklang protection spell, though Hadler casts Frizz, which he says can still hurt them. Dai then realizes something, that Yvonne died for them, and they must live. Suddenly, Dai begins to glow with blue energy. His sheer power begins to break the Keklang spell from the inside, and he is freed. Hadler casts Kefrizz and Dai casts Kekrak to defend against it. We find out that Dai can finally use magic, which Pop says is stronger than his own. They begin a physical fight, and Dai's raw power topples Hadler. A blue crest appears on Dai's forehead, the crest of the dragon. Hadler then theorizes that Dai is a dragon knight, and Dai, enraged after his sensei's death, fights back with the knife of Papnika. His attacks draw blood from Hadler, which enrages the Dark Lord. They begin an epic fight with immense power and devastation. Hadler casts the last of his magic on a spell he thinks surely will kill the tiny hero. However, Dai is still standing. He glows with more power and determination than before, and with the power of the dragon behind him, he casts an uber spell, Yvonne Strash. The spell throws Hadler far into the skies, and we imagine we won't see him for a while as light returns to the island of Darmline. Brass, Home, and Pop are freed from the defense spell, though Pop is in tears mourning his dead sensei. The magic circle of light remains after Yvonne's death, showing his determination and love for his friends. Brass asks Dai to resume training magic, though Dai brings up his mission by his sensei Yvonne to defeat Virn one day. We switch to Hadler, who speaks to Virn. Virn reminds him that nobody can stop the Dark Army, unknowing of Dai's power. Hadler thinks that Dai will become even more powerful than Yvonne and vows to never stop until he is dead. We then see the Dark Army for the first time. They are a brutal horde of grotesque monsters and beasts, and they are not a pretty sight at all. That ends the 5th episode, and we swiftly move on to the 6th. We find out that the monsters are now bound to the island, protected protected from the Dark King's spell only by Yvonne's spell. Dai is preparing to leave, however, and we find that he must have rejected Brass's request to stay and train in magic. Pop, on the other hand, is still on the island, traumatized and mourning his father figure's death. As Dai sets off to sail away, Pop runs through the water onto the boat, refusing to remain on the island. The next scene, we see a small child being attacked by horrible monsters of the Dark Army. Dai then steps in and defends the child, and Pop casts spells from afar. They seem to make a powerful team together. We find that the little girl is lost in the woods and needs their help to find her way back. Pop and Dai then reveal that they are lost too, and the two argue with each other. Just then, a huge monster prepares to attack them again. Then a bolt is fired out of nowhere. We find out who fired it, and it's a hot girl with pink hair. We find out that the little girl and the girl with the pink hair know each other. The older girl is Ma'am, and she reveals that you need strong equipment to live near the Dark Forest, a forest submerged in evil power. They invite Dai and Pop to their village, but Pop is reluctant as he wants to stay in the palace instead. Pop and Ma'am seem to butt heads, so Pop drags Dai away. The little girl, Mina, realizes the two boys left the bag. When she opens it, Goma-chan jumps out, and they decide to look after the monster for a bit. Dai and Pop move through the forest, and a spy monster sees them heading towards Romos. After telling Hadler, he summons Beast King Crocodine, a general in his army. Hadler tells Crocodine of his problem, Dai, and the Beast King laughs. Hadler tells his general that Dai managed to wound him, and Crocodine immediately jumps at the chance to fight someone that powerful. Dai and Pop hear a loud growling in the forest, and Ma'am recognizes the voice. Crocodine shows himself to Dai and Pop and introduces himself as Hadler's commander. Strangely, he tells Dai and Pop the exact structure of the Dark Army and lists the types of monsters. Pop mocks and ridicules Crocodine. Though he isn't speaking with super confidence, Pop casts a powerful fire spell, which Crocodine swallows with ease. Crocodine then launches a powerful earth-shattering attack, revealing he has more raw physical power than even Hadler. Dai tries to strategize. However, the cowardly Pop runs away. Dai and Crocodine then begin to fight, and as Pop flees, he runs into an Infanticore. Dai uses Yvonne-style fighting to battle Crocodine, and even fights in his stance. However, his attacks barely scratch the Beast King. Crocodine reveals his axe is imbued with powerful magic. Though he can't cast spells himself, Crocodine attacks, and it seems to slash through Dai. Though Dai somehow evades the attack and lands a powerful punch onto Crocodine. As this happens, Pop runs away from the Infanticore. He is saved by Ma'am, who is sprinting towards the growling sounds. Her weapon defeats the Infanticore, and he notices an insignia of Yvonne resting on her breast. He accidentally touches them, and so she punches him. Crocodine gets the upper hand against Dai, who seems powerless at this stage. Pop arrives with Ma'am, and Crocodine attacks them. We find out that Dai is paralyzed, and so Ma'am aims her weapon at him. Pop tries to intervene, but he can't do anything. Her attack hits Dai, and he is covered in blue energy. Why did she attack Dai? And will any of them be able to survive this brutal encounter with the leader of the Furfang Legion? We'll find out in the next episode, which begins with Dai rising from his paralysis. He stands up to face Crocodine and whips around and picks up his knife. Crocodine's vortex axe magic swirls around Dai, and Pop loads an ice spell into Ma'am's magic bullet gun. She aims it at Crocodine, and it freezes his arm to his axe. Dai uses this to his advantage and swiftly defeats Crocodine. We find out that Yvonne gave Ma'am the magic spell gun. Meanwhile, Brass is threatened as the dark monster has breached the circle of light around the island, which Hadler had previously been able to do. Back to Dai, Goma-chan reunites with the tiny hero, and Ma'am introduces them to her village as the heroes fighting the Dark Army. Ma'am then introduces her mother, Lyra, who fought against the Dark Lord alongside Master Yvonne. Yvonne visited the village after defeating Hadler, and that's when he trained Ma'am. Pop and Dai lie to the villagers, and they say Yvonne is still alive, hoping not to dispel their spirits. Then Ma'am tells Pop and Dai that she is a child of a priest and warrior, and so she is a priest warrior who can fight and heal. Ma'am then has an intense flashback to an inspiring moment when Yvonne gave her the magic bullet gun, designed to attack, but also to support and heal. Meanwhile, Crocodine thrashes about in his palace. Then a mysterious voice taunts him. Zaboera, the mage who infiltrated Darmline Island, appears. He offers to aid Crocodine, who is ashamed of his defeat, to Dai. Ma'am needs to reload her magic bullet gun, so she goes to the strongest spellcaster in the village. Pop instead volunteers to do it for her. His intentions are unknown, however. At Crocodine's palace, he is enraged by the dirty tactics suggested by Zaboera. The mage tricks him into thinking that if he fails, he'll lose his position in the army. Meanwhile, Dai is talking to the powerful spellcaster whilst Mam eavesdrops. He reveals that Yvonne was killed and that he needs to learn magic from someone powerful in order to defeat Hadler. Mam, after hearing of Yvonne's death, locks herself in a room. Dai begins training with the village elder, though his spells are weak. He improves, and instead of launching the spell with magic, he throws it with physical power. We find out that without Dai's dragon crest, his magic is incredibly weak. The village elder is intrigued by the dragon crest, clearly having knowledge of the mystery. Later that night, Pop and Dai discuss whether they should tell Mam of Yvonne's death, and Dai theorizes that Pop likes Mam, which is why he wants to tell her. Dai and Pop prepare to leave to head to Romos Castle to save the king and princess. After they've left, Mam begins to cry. Then her mother encourages her to go with them to fight against the Dark Army. The village stands behind her, encouraging Mam to follow Pop and Dai in their quest to defeat evil. And with that, Dai, Pop, and Gome have a new member in their team. That ends the 7th episode, and episode 8 gets well underway. The gang approaches Romos Castle, but they are turned away by the guards due to the recent monster attacks. They decide to head to an inn, where they meet another party of heroes staying there. Dai bangs on the door and the hero turns him away. Dai then realizes that he's heard the voice before, and it's the fake hero Daryline and his villainous crew. They claim to be reformed as they now fight weak monsters. However, it's very difficult to believe. We cut to Crocodile, who watches over from the mountaintop. He is seething and schemes meticulously, bursting into rage at the thought of Dai. He then summons his Furfang Legion and charges upon Romos Kingdom. A huge battle is about to begin as the monsters storm Romos Kingdom in an all-out attack. The army is aiming for Romos Castle, and Dai heroically charges towards it to help. The monsters storm the castle, and the king is immediately under attack. However, heroically, King Romos decides to remain, showing the strength of a true king. Crocodile storms the castle and confronts the king, revealing he is going to take him as a hostage. Meanwhile, Mam rounds up the fake heroes, and Pop attempt to convince them to fight against the monsters. Pop's cowardly behavior begins to show once again, and he is reluctant to help Dai. He reveals he never wanted to fight the Dark Army, and he is even scared to die. Mam, having none of it, punches him. She belittles him, saying he learned nothing from Master Yvonne, and that she joined them because she wants to avenge Yvonne, and that's what she thought Pop wanted to do too. The battle rages on, the Furfang Legion with a clear advantage. Dai makes quick work of the monsters in his way and gets into the palace. Meanwhile, Zaboera watches on his spying magic and says that Crocodile will win easily with the secret tricks bestowed upon him by the mage. Dai casts the giant frizz spell, much larger than the ones he produced in training. He gets between Crocodile and the king heroically, and Mam arrives to heal the king. One of Zaboera's soldiers asks him what Crocodile's secret trick is, and we find out it's Dai's only weakness. However, we don't know what it is, only that it's stored in a magic capsule. Crocodile releases it, and we find out who it is. Grandpa Brass. Brass, back under the spell of the Dark Lord, is berserk. However, Dai refuses to harm him. Grandpa casts spells on the soldiers and makes them turn on each other, and chaos ensues. Brass attacks his adoptive grandson, but is so consumed with dark magic that he doesn't recognize him. Just as Dai is about to hit him, he remembers their childhood together. Grandpa, seemingly remembering Dai's name, casts Frizzle, regardless of his emerging memories. Meanwhile, as the fight ensues, Hadler reflects on his pending success in his quest to kill Dai. He seems to be recovering from the injuries Dai inflicted on him. Mam is then ready to step in as Crocodile attacks. She aims at Crocodile, but Dai stops him, as he can't let his grandpa get hurt. Mam shouts at Crocodile, belittling his pride. It seems to work, as Crocodile is clearly affected by this, though it only makes him angrier. He declares he's already abandoned his prize, and we see that this is also part of Zaboera's manipulative plan to rise himself through the ranks of the Dark Army. Dai plans to steal Crocodile's magic cylinder to reseal Grandpa Base, and Mam and him attack. However, Crocodile attacks an already weakened Dai, and the Beast King launches his most powerful attack, Beast King Anguish Blast. Pop, far away from the fight, sees the damage of the attack, and in the palace, Dai and Mam are both collapsed on the floor. This is the end of episode 8, and we are nearly at the close of this recap. After Crocodile's powerful Beast King Anguish Blast, it seems that all hope is lost. Dai and Mam are defeated. There are no more heroes left to fight. The only character remaining is Pop, whose cowardly cowardly behavior has left him far away from the scene of the battle. Will Crocodile be victorious, and is this the end of Dai's adventure, or will Pop finally show his true heroism and step in? There are so many mysteries that have been unfolding in these episodes. The biggest is the reveal of the Dragon Crest, seemingly the source of all of Dai's powers. Another huge mystery is that of Zabuera. Who is this mysterious, scheming, and powerful mage? What impact will he have on Dai's adventure? We hope to find out in further episodes of Dragon Quest. I know Daibuken, and we'll be sure to update you in future episodes. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss an upload from us.